you so much, everyone. We'll be shifting focus now to discuss the intricacies of the National Assembly leadership politics and how it may impact the overall political landscape in Nigeria. We'll also be assessing the conduct of the 2023 election so far and looking at the successes and the challenges faced by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and other stakeholders in ensuring free and fair and credible elections. I have joining me a very experienced federal lawmaker, Senator Ohuabunwa, who, well, he was in that election but didn't turn out his way very much. Like, you ran against Senator Orji in Abia State. That didn't go your way this time around, and he shut you out from going into the National Assembly. But in your assessments of the 2023 election, I had a guest on the program yesterday, Professor Ishesage, who said this election of 2023 is perhaps the best election in Nigeria's history. What's your own view?
I wouldn't know from what perspective that he's judging this to be the best. Personally, build up to 2023. Yes, at that point it could have been right for somebody to say like this election, if followed the way it's been advertised, then would be the best. And I had that belief too that actually we're going to get it right, that it was going to be the best, having contested elections several times, judging from the campaign from INEC, the registration, the advertisement, the sensitization, asking people to register, pick up your PVC, the votes will count this time, you go to the polls, just cast your, you'll be captured by beavers, cast your vote, at the end of the day the results will be uploaded, then the results will be pasted on the board, on the wall for people to expect. Those expectations were there, and that was why on the 25th, I want to tell you that really, people came out without being coerced. We've never seen that kind of move and motivation, enthusiasm, the passion. But unfortunately, those were dashed. How? And that was because...
So what's your own assessment? So it is been said that beavers were supposed to be at the heart, and did beavers work from your own assessment?
Definitely. Beavers worked as far as it was meant for accreditation. But unfortunately, beavers was not referred to in terms of collation, because we are told that the collation, which is supposed to be right, beavers is accreditation. Voting, for you to turn out a result, it must be number accredited number of votes, and if possible, where you have cancellations. That's what will give you the number of vote cast, and then you divide it, or depend on what each person gets as far as that. But unfortunately, beavers was bypassed in collation. Two, if I speak from my own perspective,
well, is beavers supposed to be part of collation?
No. Well, yes. No, because beavers is a voting and accreditation device.
Definitely. Not for collation.
Yes, but you cannot, that's what I'm saying, you must make reference to beavers, because in collation, what collation result is how many people were accredited, how many votes cast, were there cancellations or void votes, then you calculate and come out to the total number of votes cast, then based on each political party. But unfortunately, what I'm saying, at the point of collation, where you should make reference to beavers, then beavers was bypassed. You didn't refer to beavers. Where somebody will come, let me give you a clear example. Beavers recorded 10,000 people accredited. Then somebody is having 20,000 votes. How did you get that? That means beavers, you did not use beavers.
That's an overvoting.
Overvoting.
About the electoral funds are that, and it says specifically on what to do. Yes. Did that happen in your own case?
No, in my own case, two things really happened. Really, in my own case. One was that INEC told us that accreditation will start by 8. In my case, in my constituency, that's Abia North, accreditation voting did not start till about 2-3 p.m. when election voting is supposed to have ended at 2:30 p.m. by right. Then that apart, also after that, collation should be at the RA, that is the ward levels. That was not done. You came to the what do you call it, the local government level. But that is even one. The second aspect was that about 100 units election was still on to be conducted in those places. When it got late, INEC on their own decided that those elections would not hold, that they would suspend the election to the next day. And the next day, they said no, because the people were not well informed and mobilized, that the election would not be on Monday, because the election was on 25th. 26th, there was an announcement that there was going to be a supplementary election. INEC on its own also came up and said, no, this supplementary election will not be on Monday. People were getting ready. INEC was ready, deploying materials and people, and result was announced. How can you reconcile that?
Have you made an official complaint about that?
First, let me tell you, the announcement was made by INEC. The record, the video, the tape is there. It's not that I made a complaint, INEC. But when that happened, they didn't keep to their word. I wrote a petition, hoping that INEC will use the 7-day
window for
review. We only had an acknowledgement. Nothing happened. 1 day, 2 days, 7 days. As I speak, nothing has happened. And we have no option than to go to tribunal.
I saw you at the tribunal.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You're challenging the outcome of the election.
Definitely.
Do you think that you won that election?
Well, I wouldn't want to use the word I won, because it was very clear that I campaigned vigorously. It was very clear that in my constituency, people wanted me back in the Senate. It was very clear that even the party, as far as my constituency was concerned and state, people didn't want to hear about the person or about the party. It's very clear. But where I'm not claiming was that I thought that they would have allowed that election to be,
so would you say that there was no election in your senatorial district?
No. I said election started late.
But it did not reflect
most constituencies.
So
I'll give you an example like Ohuabunwa.
So in summary,
yes,
the election outcome did not reflect the conduct.
Completely, it's not a reflection of the conduct, and the election was not followed to its conclusion.
You feel you were rigged out?
I give you an example.
That's what you feel. Do you feel you were rigged out?
Well, I don't like complaining, but I like putting things in the right perspective.
Because your opponent will say these are the words of a loser.
That's
someone who lost election. If he had gone in your favor, you probably wouldn't have been saying this.
That's why I've been contesting election. People will tell you that. Yeah. That's why I don't want to come complaining, but I want to put things right in the right perspective. And INEC will definitely confirm what I'm saying.
You have your day at the tribunal.
Yes, let me give you an example.
And you have assurance, you have evidence that...
Oh, yes, including INEC. INEC will be part of the witness, because they did. I give you a place like Ohuabunwa. We have Ohuabunwa. You know how populated Ohuabunwa is. Yeah. The highest and the biggest ward in Abia State is Isiama ward, which had 47 units. Not one vote, no election. You had Okamu, which had also in Ohuabunwa 27 units, no election. You have Orji with 10 units, no election. You come to my own ward, Ward 3 in Arochukwu, 11 units, no election. You go to Isukwato, that is about, we've articulated all that, and INEC is aware, about 100 units. And the worst case is that the number of people registered in those units far outnumber the total number of votes cast so far. So it's not even talking about margin of lead, because if it was between two persons, you begin to talk about margin of lead. This one is that the election was not completed. You started it and you did not complete the election, only for you to announce result. I'm surprised, and up to now, as I speak, I cannot reconcile it at all. And like I said, do you know that 25th of February, people came out on their own? In most of the units, there were no security agents, and there was no issues. No killing, no fracas, no violence, no snatching of ballot boxes. People came out on their own, and they wanted to exercise their franchise.
I mean, yours is an isolated case.
Well,
would you now say that because of that isolated case, the whole election is not free and fair?
No. For me,
the conduct is not as... the way the professor and the senior advocate described it, that this is perhaps the best. And he gave the instances of 2007, 2003, 1999, and the rest, and how we have developed up to this point. So would you say because of that scenario, the whole of 2023 election is not judged as good as it should be?
I can't say that, because I cannot tell you what happened elsewhere. My perspective, my statement is based on my experience.
Do you think, Senator, that there is an improvement?
Pardon?
Do you think that there is an improvement in any case in this election?
They are supposed to, by right. They are supposed to have been an improvement.
But you don't see
because one, the Electoral Act of 2022 for me was a great improvement, and if we had followed it to the letters, definitely to have been. Then the Beavers case, the arrangement, the registration, the collection of what do you call it, PVCs. For me, they were all improvement. The only thing I see that, from my own perspective, the conduct, the implementation was not followed right, and I don't know what happened. So I don't know what may have happened in other places. But from my own point, I cannot say I judge it to be right.
You're a national leader in the People's Democratic Party, and so your party lost the election too.
Yes.
Did you see that coming? Did you think that your party could have lost to Bola Tinubu of the APC?
Yeah, no, well, I wouldn't know whether Tinubu or not, but I saw the loss coming. Because you couldn't go to war depleted, divided. It was very clear that the way PDP was going, we were not really prepared to win that presidential election. I give you an example. I was part of the, what you call the 36 or 37 wise men who were involved in zoning the presidential position. And at that point, the first day, it ended in a fiasco. Because we insisted that we must stick to the party constitution. We talked about zoning and rotation. Then some people came with an idea that, look, this is belated because you had allowed every person to collect what do you call it, nomination form. And if you come to talk about zoning at this time, then definitely it will go to scatter the party. So on that basis, we saw, well, what is important was to keep the party together. Then we agreed that, okay, let's leave it open. Let's see where the presidency will come from. Which was what, I had told people that when people talk that IU made a statement that if the president comes from a certain place, he was going to resign. IU did not volunteer that statement. It was people like you, based on the outcome of our decision. They now went to the chairman to say, look, now that your party had thrown this thing open, what if the president comes from your own region? What will you do? He said, no, if the president comes from my region, definitely I will step aside. Then luckily, the president came from your region. Now to step aside became a problem. Now you are the father of the party. And for a father of the party, your best interest, your first decision and option will be anything that will bring peace and harmony to lead to the victory of the party. But you refused. You stood and said you are not going to leave. Even when people say, look, let the other zone bring the chairman. I didn't see anything difficult about that. So what I'm trying to say is that if then 5 governors came together and insisted that this must happen, then you as the father saying that you are not going to leave. So it was already a recipe for it
was an own goal.
Definitely. Definitely. From that point, if you're a politician, a political strategist, a politician that had been an election contesting politician like Senator Ohuabunwa, you will know that from onset.
So Atiku Abubakar has been in this game for over 30 years.
That's why I'm surprised. I'm shocked.
So you think he didn't see this coming?
I'm surprised. Unfortunately, I've not spoken to him, but I expected those who came to me to say, look. I said, look, tell the presidential candidate, my Oga, ask him, Oga, do you really want to win an election or you want to be a presidential candidate? So if you want to win this election, it's simple. You should step outside so that we can go into this election
because
united.
You are from the south and you are probably supporting...
No. What I'm saying, maybe you didn't hear, No, I
understand you. I'm saying that when you told your colleagues who came to you, they might be thinking that you're saying this because, or you said that because you are a southerner.
Maybe they made mistake, or maybe they didn't know my antecedent and my history.
Let me take you to the National Assembly. Your opponent in the senatorial election is gunning to be a Senate president.
Well, I read it on the pages of the paper.
What do you think about that?
Well, let me speak as a parliamentarian. I've been privileged to be in the House of Reps. I was a leader in the House of Reps. I was privileged to have been a leader in the ECOWAS Parliament, and I'm also been privileged to be in the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And as far as I'm concerned, the leadership, especially the presiding officer or the presiding officers or presiding officer is, somebody will say is first among equals, somebody will say is
one among equals.
But as far as I'm concerned, it's primus inter pares, first amongst equals. So first, what is important is character. You talk about the character, you talk about the integrity, you talk about the capacity and the ability of this person. Don't forget that as a leader, you're no more, he's just not going to be the leader of the Senate. He's going to be the chairman of the National Assembly. He's also now going by protocol, the number 3 man in the country. So it's like you're presenting your best. So under that condition, in that circumstance, you must make sure that you present the best amongst all. And that is why if you look at when the rule talks about ranking, it's not ranking by only number of
times you've
been there. It's also an opportunity for members to have assessed you and known you. Because that's why some of us at times will cry about the turnover. But the point is that you must be a man of integrity, a man of character, and to be able to lead your person. When I see people make mockery of the parliament of zoning, say you zone to me, I mean, some of us hide our faces in shame. You cannot say zone to you. Not even zoning as per regional is because of the level of our democracy. At a point, nothing about zone. It gets to a point
but at this point that we are in our country today, a Southwest president, a Northeast vice president, the number 3 man, where do you think in the balance of power equation and that debate, where do you think the Senate president should come from?
No, there are so many things we put into consideration when we talk about zoning. It's not only state or region. Like, we do apologies. At the beginning of this electioneering campaign, Shetima is somebody I know and can vouch for his capacity and ability. But when it was Muslim ticket, at that time, as a Christian, I spoke against it. I personally, not because the candidates were not capable or qualified.
But Senator,
but now
for the
we've gone beyond that.
What do you think is fair?
No, what is fair, first and foremost, because you can no more teleguide the senators as it were.
So you remember what happened? Control.
Yeah, you remember what happened in 2015?
Yeah.
You remember also what happened to us in 1999?
Yeah, absolutely.
When we were there, Buhari was removed.
Salisu
Buhari because of this, what do you call it? The Canada
Toronto
gate.
Yeah.
Then they went back to the president. Then Wali was the liaison officer. So they asked the House to wait for the villa to decide who was going to be the the speaker. Before they came, we all met as a people in consonance with the rules of the House and voted Galinaba. And you could see that Galinaba kept the executive on check until we left. We are not saying you must bring somebody. This is not time for bring people who will deal. It's not time for deal men. It's not time for deal men.
So let me ask
you. It's time to bring people who are conversant with the tenets of democracy and parliament, who can keep the executive on check. Don't forget that our functions are complementary. Our functions are independent but complementary. Are you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
What I mean, the legislature, the executive, the judiciary, they're independent but complementary.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but not to the extent that you become a rubber stamp. You must get somebody.
Is that what we have been saying in the past?
Well, I'm not saying, but you saw that outside the Senate, outside the assembly, like you've told, I saw you in your last program, what the people say is that the night assembly was a rubber stamp assembly. Not Ohuabunwa saying it, Senator, because I'm not in a position to assess.
Senator,
yes.
If the Senate president comes, your opponent becomes the Senate president, how would you feel?
I will feel terrible.
Why?
Because I don't believe that he's competent to represent.
That's a two-term governor.
To represent, represent the Senate. Number two, as it concerns me, he has not won the election. He's not yet. So I wouldn't want a Senate president that will be removed tomorrow. He has so many things, so many baggages with him. He has, he's still has a case in court, EFCC case, that is still standing. Don't forget that he was convicted. He went on technical grounds. They didn't discharge him. No, he wasn't discharged.
But he came out of...
That's what I'm saying. But they said that the case, I'm even using the to that, I'm wondering why EFCC is still holding back on that prosecution as we speak. That is number one. Number two, like I said, I ran an election with him, and he's aware that he hasn't really won that election, or he didn't win that election.
Well, that would be left to the court, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. That from my own perspective, I'm not court. I'm speaking, you asked me a question. So I'm saying from that point, and also from the legislative perspective, I think that if you really want this position to go to the southeast, and you want somebody that will represent Nigeria at the world level, you need somebody with some high level of...
Let me get your final thought. I mean, if you... I mean, even if the court consider you and reviews this election, make a judicial review of this of your election, and sees that you won the election, that is if that happens in the court. You will still be in the opposition. And so the onus is on the APC to decide how they want to handle that. But just in about 30 seconds, how do you think that the APC, whose onus is on them to produce the presiding officer, should handle this case?
No, first and foremost, I've always been an advocate of independent National Assembly. Allow the Senate to act in accordance with the rules. The process is being prescribed. Allow them to get, so that you get out. Listen, you remember what happened in 1999 with Chubok Kadibo? You know, the executive continued to delegate the Senate.
Until we had
not Ken Namani. They brought from Ivan Enwerem, we now went to, eventually, he came to Chuba. They still chased Chuba, and him came. Pius Ayim came. That was Ayim ended. So when Ayim saw the fire, he withdrew and went back to his people, knowing that you are a representative of the senators. So you need the senators to protect you, not the villain. So any Senate president that is not a product of the senators, of the legislature, or even speaker will not stay. You remember,
but the party can guide.
2015.
But the party can guide,
the party definitely.
Because the onus is on the party.
The party can guide. And that's my...
But what do you think that the APC should do from your experience?
Should guide the Senate and the legislature. First and foremost, allow them, meet with them, allow them to follow the process and procedure as prescribed by the...
You think Bola Tinubu and...
Don't also forget that this thing does not end with the presiding officers. There are offices enough for all the zones. See, you have, let me give you, if you have the Senate president from one zone, you have the deputy Senate president from another zone, you have the leader of the house from another zone, you have the whip from another zone, you have the deputy leader, then you have the deputy whip, which covers the 6 geopolitical zones. So no zone will go without something. But the point is that you should not give out to zones to the detriment of capacity, character, ability. You cannot do
Senator,
that, because that would be a disgrace both to the Senate and to the legislature, and indeed the country as a whole. Do you see Bola
Tinubu playing a major role because of his experience and that of Keshik?
I expect them, because they are both senators, I expect them to know what the rules stipulate.
You think this might be more delicate and
especially Shetima. Tinubu, maybe I don't know what happened at the time. You know, their time was during the time they had restrictions, what to do and what not to do. It was not a full blown legislature. But Shetima left and played a role in full legislature, where you had
full complement
of legislature, and he played a role. So he should be able to guide the party. And luckily for us too, the party chairman, we were together in the Senate. I mean, the national chairman of APC. One of the deputies, also, I think, I don't expect them to have, I expect them to...
A lot of people have thought that this National Assembly will be more slippery. 70% are not returning. About 30% are returning.
That is.
In the House of Reps, similar thing is happening.
It's unfortunate.
So they say it might be more slippery than we have seen ever.
I hope there wouldn't be. With the slippery would not be based on banana peels.
Thank you so much, Senator Ohuabunwa.
Yes.
Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
My
I appreciate
pleasure.
it. We'll take it.